last presentation of the second day will start right now with Mrs. Almudena Rodriguez Pardo. She is business agility consultant at Rodriguez Pardo and Associates. The subject of her presentation is Scaled Agile Framework and ITSM, the Beauty and the Beast. Now, Mrs. Rodriguez Pardo, please start your presentation now.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Great. Yeah, welcome to my presentation. I'm very, very happy to be invited at this conference because you could think Scale Agile Framework has nothing to do with ITMS, and it really does. So we have closely relation. So I will start by the beginning, like presenting our collaboration with Connect Business Academy. They are sponsors and you can visit them at the stands from the vendors and sponsoring. So we'll be happy to see you there after the presentation. Connect Business Academy is part of this conference too, and that's the company I work with in German-speaking countries. And that's me actually. I'm business agility consultant and trainer for wide variety of agile methodologies, but I come from the technology. I was 22 years working for Ericsson in Germany. I've been developer, so I've been very much involved in IT service management issues, and I'm also international speakers. I take part in several conferences worldwide regarding agile methodologies and collaboration between different agile frameworks. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be speaking about framework. Scale Agile Framework is the most used and also the most conflicted. You have real passionate haters of Scale Agile Framework. Like I have this slide from LinkedIn. I didn't want to ruin anybody's career, so I protected the name. But you see what sort of comments and emotions are awakening when you speak about SAFe. I find it myself a bit funny because there's nothing more boring than a framework or a process. And to see all these emotions coming up, like saying SAFe is a cancer, it's a parasite, it's not healthy. I personally find sort of funny. So I always ask myself, do you know SAFe at all? Not before you get so emotional, but you see some extremes in the industry. The other side of the coin is the fact that SAFe is the most applied framework worldwide when introducing organizational agility. Most of the big companies, when I say big, I say 100,000 employees, 50,000 employees. We are talking about companies like Airbus. They are introducing Scale Agile Framework. And any other framework, if you see this survey run by the tool version 1, version 1 has been running now for 14 years, the State of Agile report. This is very, very helpful for us consultants because then you see where the whole thing is going to. And we have seen SAFe increasing by 5% in 1 year, whereas any other framework are decreasing. So that's something about this. The Scale Agile Framework seems to be useful somehow. Now, why do we need this at all? Why did you get this far? We've been speaking about digitalization for such a long time, and we need a digital transformation. Fair enough, we do. Once we have a digital transformation in place, our companies look like this. Everybody is digitalized, have the best technology. We even have a 5G antenna in the company. But we have the same working methodologies like the 20th century, and we might have the same management mindset than the 18th century. So a digital transformation is not enough. We need more. We need to the way we work, the working methodologies. We need to change the mindset which is driving this company. I like the way Forbes explained it in a beautiful article about organizational agility 3 years ago. All sectors are disrupted by digital transformations. So how to handle this? It's achieve greater agility. Now, Forbes says, and I like this, it is an ability. It's not a religion. No, it's not a method. It's an ability to adjust strategies, empower employees, respond to ambiguity with speed, and view unanticipated change. Sounds easy. That is the challenge we have. How do we put this in place? The first question which arises, what the heck is agility? There is so much confusion. I walk into companies where I find 20 different definitions, 19 probably wrong. So there are a lot of misunderstandings. What is agility? Agility is not user story points. Agility might be related to user stories or not. So we need some clarity. What is agility? 2001, 17 top software experts got together in Utah, USA for a weekend, and they came out with 4 values and 12 principles. You can put them together in one page. It is really a piece of wisdom what these guys created. They made a real revolution in the way we have been doing software for the last 20 years. So there was a before and after from this 2001 when the Agile Manifesto was written. But if you read the Agile Manifesto, you sometimes have the feeling, okay, looks nice. How to apply this in my company? So we have created the core of Agile. What does it mean? Working Agile. You work Agile if you have delivery of value, not of a project, not of a product, of value. You work Agile if you adapt to the customer. If you see the customer as often as possible, depends on your sector, but the real customer, not a proxy. You work Agile if you have teams, not only Scrum teams, any sort of teams. We need teamwork because of 2 reasons, velocity and complexity. And we need a culture of continuous improvement. If you have these 4 areas in place, you're working Agile, whatever you're doing. And if you don't have it in place, then we have some work to do. The very first approach we have been using in the software development was Scrum. Scrum was born in 5. Scrum did something great. First, introduced interactions. We reduced the feedback cycle. But even more important for us in the IT, Scrum brought IT and business together. The Scrum teams are supposed to be end-to-end cross-functional, having business analysts, developers, testers, and production. So we got the first possibility to break the silos from business, IT, production. So we started with Scrum collaboration. It's a very important aspect. Now, what Scrum did, we created some agility in the waterfall processes of our company. We agilized locally and not systemically. So Scrum was fantastic to get started, but any big company with like 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 employees, at some point we had Scrum teams all over the place. We needed more. We needed more than just Scrum. At some point we realized Scrum is not enough. We needed organizational agility, end-to-end. The complete company had to be agile. And here's where Scale Agile framework comes in the picture. Here we have Dean Leffingwell, the person who created SAFe. Dean has been doing an amazing work for the last 10 years. And he's the one who said that for the first, agility is not an option. But it's not just something for teams, it's for the business. We need a lean enterprise. So we have to rethink now. We have to go to one step further. And here where we get the definition of SAFe. SAFe defines itself as a knowledge base of proven principles, practice, and competencies all together integrated based on fundamentals of lean, agile, and DevOps, which is actually true. We'll come back to this proven aspect, and you can go to www.scaleagleframework.com. Scale Agile Framework is open source, so you can click there all over the place and get as much information as you need on SAFe. I'll be happy to have you in my SAFe courses, but if you just want to know more information than this talk, please go here and click around the complete information is open source. And here's the SAFE graphic. For the first, you might get quite a shock. I accept Agilists when they say, oh, Almudena, it looks so threatening, you know, it's so big, it's so complex, it's so hierarchical. The first impression of the SAFE framework is a bit heavy for traditional Agilists. It's not as hierarchical as it might look like. It is a granularity, what we're seeing here, and not a hierarchy. And there are not that many more roles if you consider we want to run companies with 50,000 people with this framework. So if from that point of view, it's not that much. But I will not go in detail now here. If you have any concrete questions to the roles, to the responsibilities, to the artifacts related in SAFE, feel free to contact me. So it's not the point to go here and deep. It's to get closer to is SAFE a beauty or SAFE a beast. I said proven. We've proved SAFE is working. Here you have some of the many companies, and when we say companies, we see companies like the Deutsche Bahn, the German Railways, or the French Employment Office, or the Dutch Tax Administration, or the Australian Post, the British Health System, Air France. So you have very, very big companies, and also American governmental organizations, which have taken Scale Agile framework to run their companies towards business agility. So if you go to Scale Agile framework case studies, you see a big amount of companies listed in any sector, which proves that the Scale Agile framework can work. Now, these are some of the business results we get out of Scale Agile framework. It is truth. It's a bit dangerous to hope I buy SAFE and this is going to work. So it is a long way to get here. The transformation is a long way. Somebody was saying today in some of the talks I was listening, it's about people, it's about mindset. It's not just about setting the framework in place. It's about doing a lot of work, about changing the way we have been working and thinking at work. But by applying an agile transformation with support from SAFE, you can get to better quality for sure. So we very quickly realized in Ericsson 2011, when we started to work in large scale Scrum, that we had less defects in our products. So that is something we very quickly realized. You can be faster to market because we don't have everything or nothing like these old projects from the 90s. We are working incrementally. We can quickly deliver value to the customer. You can have productive teams if they are motivated. So if employees see what they're doing and the impact from their work, automatically, without any further movement, you increase the productivity or even the efficiency. So yes, we can get this far, but here comes the warning. It's a long way and it's a lot of work. So now, after I've presented SAFE and I've clarified what is agility and what's not agility, comes the question, do we have a beauty or a beast, or is there any relation between the Scale Agile framework and ITSM? Or if I take one, I have to take the other one out? Or is there any sort of problem for them to be together? I don't think so. You do have companies where both models have been introduced. Now, on the first time I did show you SAFE, I'm going to go now a bit deeper there. Where is IT here? Because the word IT doesn't come up. This is an organizational framework. That will be the first difference to IT service management. IT service management is part of the organization. And with SAFE, we want a holistic systemic view of the company. So IT service management is part of this. We had today at lunchtime presentation on DevOps where they say automation is king. Yes. SAFE speaks about continuous everything, continuous delivery, continuous integration, continuous deployment. So we have IT deep in our Agile release trains. When we have value streams in place, and this is what an Agile release train is, value stream, every system, information, software, hardware, and people related to this value stream work together. So IT is also on the train, is on board. SAFe is based on Agile teams. When we say Agile teams, we say any team. Can be an IT service management team, can be a human resources team, can be a financial team. So the whole company is based on teamwork. We want no heroes. Why? 2 reasons: velocity and the diversity you require for complexity. We have also in Scholderer framework a very strong DevOps concept. So IT and automation is the A of this model. We have several aspects we have to consider, and the C from the DevOps model, from CAM, is about culture. So we have a long way to go to bring IT, business, and all the parts related to a value stream together to collaborate. We have shared services, which can be human resources, can be financial, can be IT support, can be asset management. And we have a system team, which might be supporting the teams to integrate big like products. You might have something like Airbus is running solution trains with SAFe to put together an airplane. So you might need a system team supporting you there. So as you can see, IT is scattered all over the place, which means it is important. It is the basic, the fundamentals. But what we're doing here is breaking the silos and collaborating and securing we are working not department-oriented, IT-oriented, but value-oriented. Whatever is value for the customer, we do it together. So now the question is, shall I take Scholderer framework or shall I take ITIL? Depends. Really much depends on what you need. If you take a closer look to the SAFe definition I gave you, and you see the ITIL 4 definition where Agile and DevOps is very strongly involved, they are not that far away from each other. So ITIL 4 has gotten very, very close to what we are doing. Main difference, and that point is my opinion for God's sake, from my experience coaching companies, ITIL is more focused on the IT area and Scholderer framework is seeking an organizational level. So you might have both frameworks in the same company and shouldn't be a problem. So as I say, ITIL4 has the same fundamentals as a Scholderer framework. We have different granularities. So at least my experience and my opinion. So why are some of these implementations failing? Why is Scholderer framework failing? Why is agility failing? Why is even ITIL failing? It's not the framework. It's not the principles behind. It's not the practices. The problem is something else, and I'm very happy my colleague Michael Küsters did beautiful graphical representation of what we faced in many of the companies we work with. What is the real problem we're trying to solve? What are the expectations from management? And what is a framework good for? A framework is a support, it's never a solution. So you have problems. Don't expect to solve them with a framework. First, get some clarity. What's the problem we have? Then get some transparency. And then make a decision. What's the framework which could support you? It could be Scholderer framework, yes. But I've been at companies where I said before we run into an agile transformation with Scholderer framework, there are 2 or 3 other problems we have to solve. So no framework in the world is going to solve your problems. They're going to support you. You have a clarity what you have to do. At this point, most of the work as a consultant is about identifying the problem which are trying to solve. And I've been at companies where we started working on the portfolio area, so we don't start with teams. Others, we have to set up the Scrum teams first and move from capacity allocation to Scrum teams. Now, how many people do you have in the company? Oh, we have so much capacity. I said, I asked about people. How many people do you have here? Oh, we don't know. We count on capacity because you have some part-timers. I say, okay, that's where we have to start working. What are your teams? A team is not just a bunch of people. So like you see, you might have the problem we're trying to solve on different levels of the company, and there are companies where start doing running Scale Agile framework by the book, working on the teams and creating a team of teams. And other companies will say, okay, we first have to sort out the portfolio before we move in any other direction. Let's start from the upper part. Whatever you're trying to do in your company before we introduce Scale Agile framework, let's please clarify the expectations your executives have and the problem we have. That's the experience as a consultant. Now, most of the problems we have by introducing agility are described here by Harvard Business Review beautifully. So Agile revolutionized the software industry defiantly. And we have enormous changes in the last 30 years. If you consider 1995 Scrum began, and here Mary Poppendieck was already running lean software development in the 90s. We've had a tremendous change in the last 30 years. At this point, the greatest impediment is not wait for the next better methodologies. So say, okay, Scale Agile framework is not working, let's wait until something better comes out. You will wait very long. It is not about a better methodology. We have empirical evidence now that what we have at the market can work. Agile works also outside IT. We are running a lot of workshops for human resources now. We're involving them. We have in companies like Rewe Digital in Cologne, the human resources people sitting with the Scrum teams together to identify the roles, understand the needs of the teams. So that we can do amazing work there. The problem is the behavior of executives. It's the mindset. We need to change the mindset. So we have to very closely work towards agile leadership. That is one of the fundamentals we have to work on. Now, whatever we do, we have to be quick because your competition is not sleeping. It doesn't mean everything we've done so far was wrong and now we're doing it right, for God's sake. We did great things last century. We sent a man to the moon with traditional waterfall project management. The code was written in paper and we made it to the moon and back. So we have done great things last century with waterfall projects. The thing is, what got us here is not going to take us any farther. The world has changed. We need velocity and we need another approach to face the huge complexity out there. And waterfall projects are not running anymore because they not accept the complexity in the requirement specifications with 350 pages, and they are not quick enough. How quick should I be? Quicker than your competitor. So whatever you do from all the suggestions I gave you, give it a thought. We have to do something because we have to work in a complete different way than we have worked in the last years. This was actually my talk. I see I did a great job with timing, and I'm open for any questions you might give. If you are listening to the recording or you don't have time now, you can reach me over my webpage or you can reach me over my email. You can reach me also over LinkedIn, and you can reach me over the Company Connect in the stand they have in the conference. But for the first, of course, now I am very happy to answer any questions you may have. I say at this point, muchas gracias por su atención. Maybe you were hearing a slightly accent. I was born in Spain. And I'll be happy to have any questions in German, English, Spanish, and Italian. Sorry for the French ones. I won't make that one.
Thank you, Mrs. Rodriguez Pardo. Hang on, there is something. Okay, the question is, you talk about velocity. Waterfall concept, etc.
Yeah, very good question. I received this question a lot. I got it short last week. I got that question. I also got a question regarding older employees. I sometimes hear, you know, Mrs. Rodriguez, my employees are over 50. I created my consultancy company with 53. By the way, I'm 56. I'm terribly proud about that. Any employee can be motivated. And the point is, and I come back to this slide, it is the mindset. It is the mindset. We have to work on management. How we took the motivation away in the waterfall and we are bringing it back with Scrum. Why? What makes the difference in the Scrum team? And I was 2010, I was moved from a development department to a Scrum team. We didn't really know what we were doing there. We were a bit lost. But we right away got more motivated. Why? Because we had more empowerment. We knew better what was happening. We didn't get a huge specification with 350 pages, what was wrong anyway. To do some code, we got user stories with a description of a problem where we had to look for a solution. So our brains were being used, and that motivates anybody, young, old, whatever they have been doing on the last years. You always have people who don't want to change. Yes, that's part of the price we have to pay. Some people leave the company when you introduce agility, but then those were not the people you need now. I hope I answered your question.
Well, I think maybe I'm one of the old ones as well, and I'm a project manager. I've managed, 20 large projects, and all in the old method. There was none of these waterfall project, what you're talking about. Waterfall is simple. There is one task, the next task, the next task. But if you have a large project, then there is nothing like waterfall in there. But if you have projects for things which have already been done, like for example, you change the telephony into voice over IP or something like that. The plans are already there. I don't really know why you need now all of a sudden a different kind of methodology, because it's already there. Or if you build a skyscraper, for example, the plans are already there how to do this.
Voice, thank you.
Yeah, my question is, you come with a new method, and isn't it so that then the organization has to turn circles until they get this new method in, and before they have even started building the skyscraper, I would have been already finished with it.
Let's go to voice over IP. Thank you for this hint. Voice over IP for LTE was developed by Ericsson in Germany with Scrum teams. I was one of the participants. That's the reason. Thanks for the hint.
Okay.
So, and it was done by user stories, and it was done in an agile way. When you talk about new methods, it's very old, everything we're talking about. Agile is 20 years old and Scrum is 25. Nothing new about this. Even SAFe is 10 years old. So for God's sake, if you think I'm selling you something new, it's been applied in the world for a very, very long time already. So nothing new about this.
I didn't mean it that way, but okay.
But yes, voice over IP was actually one of the first Scrum approaches we did in Ericsson Eurolab in Aachen. And it was the change is not about predefining 350 pages Pflichtheft, but creating an incremental delivery where you get a basic functionality as soon as possible in the market to receive feedback from the customers. Regarding architecture, you do have prototyping, you do have minimal viable product architecture is also working agile, and right around the corner of my house, Ego again Aachen is creating cars in sprints with 3D with laser printers, three-dimensional laser printers doing the parts of the motor. Amazing! You can create increments of cars in 2 weeks. We're doing real agile hardware with printers, so you have everything there. The technology is there. We just need the mindset.
So if you have an incremental car, when can you actually drive that car? If you've got only parts ready of it. Or if you switch the voice over IP, you have to have one day where you switch all the old ones to the new ones, You can't have part of the company still on the old technology and then the other part on the new technology. It doesn't go, does it?
It's the only way. It's the only way we have. We have to have two velocities, otherwise you will kill the company. If you do, it has to be an evolution and not a revolution. We have to make sure we evolve, otherwise it's going to hurt, and we cannot have our customer getting in trouble because we do a radical change. So it is an evolution where we keep two platforms going on at the same time. While I was developing a Scrum in this tiny little company called Ericsson, I mean, we only had 150,000 employees over 180 countries. While we were working some Scrum development in some of the products, or some other products were still doing waterfall.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions? There's lots of thanks coming up, but I can't see no questions. No, there's no more questions. Well, thanks a lot for your presentation, and I will close down this session. And we see us all in 15 minutes again here in this international stream where we join the other two channels in here, and we get the final statement then from Robert Scholderer on the closing act of the fair. Thank you again, Mr. Rodriguez, Pardo, and the rest of you. Stay tuned.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.